I've been on a bit of a mission to find some new independently published books to read, and over the past month or two I've acquired quite a few. So I thought in this video we'd have a look at all the indie books I've picked up recently and see what they're all about. I absolutely love reading indie authors, and I feel like in the years I've been making book content I have always been supporting indie authors and recommending indie titles to you guys. However, I have recently noticed as I look around my shelves for indie books to recommend to you lot that most of them have been picked up for traditional publishing, which is absolutely fantastic news. It means that more readers around the world are going to be able to access those books, and also it's a great opportunity for the authors. However, it does mean that my list of indie published books and authors I like to recommend is dwindling just because those books have now been picked up for traditional publishing. So I've been on a bit of a hunt to find some new to me authors to read and potentially recommend to you guys, and that is what this list of books is going to be. However, take this list with a pinch of salt. I already know that one series on this list has been picked up for international rights, another series has been picked up by Bloom since I bought these books indie, and then there's another series that, as I'm filming this, has not been formally acquired, but I have seen hints online that this series has also now been acquired. So take this with a pinch of salt, because some of these may be picked up for traditional publishing by the time you see this video. And please let me know your top indie author recs in the comments below. I'm not going to go through this in any specific order. These are mainly fantasy, but there are a couple of romance books on there as well. I'm just going to pick up the shelf depending on what's calling to me right in this second. Starting off with a series that, again, when I picked up was indie, and I think in the UK it is still available to grab this as an indie series. I think this series has now been acquired for some international rights, but I'm not 100% certain. The author has made an announcement though if you want to go and look at that, and that is the Compelling Fate Saga by Sophia St. Germain. So I have picked up all three books that are in this series so far. This recommendation has actually come to me from a lot of other reviewers. A lot of my mutuals have been reading this recently, and then particularly in the past few weeks I've seen reviewers whose reviews especially usually align with my own. We generally like the same kind of things, speaking really highly of this series. So I had to pick it up and see what all the fuss was about. I was planning to read this by the end of the year because I think this is going to be a 4-book series, and I think book 4 comes out really soon. But so far I just have the first 3. So I have book 1, A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly, book 2, A Promise So Bold and Broken, and then book 3, which also hasn't been out very long, A Bond So Fierce and Fragile. This series is a fantasy romance series, and as I said, I think this is about to be completed. I think the 4th book is going to be the final one, but if you know any different then please do correct me in the comments. This series looks like exactly the kind of fantasy romance I love, with spice and fae and royalty. The title Compelling Fate Saga comes from, I think, the female main character's magical ability to be able to compel people. I haven't actually seen anybody who's read this be kind of casual about it. I have just seen nothing but raving 5-star reviews. So many people have told me as well, because I've loved series like Throne of Glass so much, that I'm gonna really enjoy this. There is that kind of element of there being human realms and fae realms. I believe this has a slow burn enemies to lovers romance in it, which is my favourite type of fantasy romance to read. And I'm just seeing this be compared to some of the series that I have loved over the years. I'm seeing this being compared a lot to some of the Stasia Stark books, and I'm genuinely excited to dive into this one. I don't know if I'm going to wait for the final book to come out. Often I do like to do that, but I do think with these ones I kind of want to get ahead of it. I want to know what these are about immediately, and I kind of want to get that release day excitement for book 4 along with the people that have already been raving about this series. As I said, I think there is something that's happening with this one. I believe it's been picked up for international, maybe translation rights. I'm not entirely sure, but I can definitely see this being one of those series because of how popular it's getting and so quickly. I can definitely see this being one of the ones that's picked up by the time I managed to post this. But this recommendation still stands. I'm still happy I grabbed these, and even if they've been picked up by the time I post it, I would recommend getting your hands on the indie copies because I also think they are so beautiful. This one has spice as well. I believe this is adult romantasy, and this is one of 2 or 3 actually romantasy series kind of on the list. Some of them are like the first book in a series, but this is definitely one of the ones that has the most books out. So if you're looking to dive into something that feels more complete or has more than one book out, this could be an option for you. Definitely go and check out the author's Instagram as well. I've seen her sharing quotes and character art that has just made me so much more thirsty to dive into this. One of the books I've been actively hunting for is some kind of indie fantasy dark academia book, and this is a recommendation that kept popping up, and a couple of you guys recommended this one to me as well, and that is Of Blood and Ether, which is book 1 in the Harbinger series by Harper Hawthorne. I think there has been a book 2 announced of this, but I don't think it's been released yet, and this looks super delicious. This is academy based, obviously with it it being a dark academia, but it is a dark academia with fantasy elements in there as well, which is my favourite way to read dark academia books. A micro trope that I love within fantasy romance is when the male love interest is the captain of the guard. I don't know what it is about that, it just sings to my soul, particularly if they're the captain of the guard with a secret. Like if they're the captain of a guard but are in love with the enemy, or if the captain of the guard but they're secretly a royal, or if they're the captain of the guard and like, you know, there's just something else going on there. I absolutely adore it, and this book has that. And this academy specifically is an academy for magic. It is a magic school as well, and we have magic wielders as our main characters. I think our female main character is attending the college. Also, anytime there is a male book character that shares the same name as my husband, I'm like, great, now I have to pick it up. So the male character in this is called Kieran. And just from the blurb, they're describing the male main love interest of like preferring to live in isolation but masking his problems with like charm and a cocksure attitude, and like that I adore. I don't know what it is about vulnerable male main characters who are maybe a bit more shy but have this like really outgoing persona to kind of mask some of that I just really want to know his backstory immediately. Oh my god, I've just noticed there's artwork in here. Okay, spoiler alert, because I mean, I'm guessing you know that there's going to be romance in this. This character art is gorgeous. I'll show you some of it. I think there's quite a few in the indie paperback. So here is some character art of Kieran and Arkan. Those are our two main characters. There's some slightly heated artwork at the back as well, which I won't show you, but I can also see something potentially at the front. What's that one? Oh, hell yes. We also have some character art of our main characters. So here's our female main character, Arkan. And I believe this is our mysterious male lead, Kieran. And this is a multiple point of view book, so we are getting it from both of their perspectives. I'm honestly just such a sucker for dark academia when it's dark and moody and raining outside pretty much all year round, but especially at this time of year. And even though I have been trying to read more complete series, I do think this is the one that I'm possibly the most excited to read on this entire list. I have really high hopes for this one. I think it's one I'm gonna absolutely adore. And the cover is gorgeous as well. It's like really giving me dark, moody and gothic, so I absolutely can get behind that. Another book one in a series. This one is actually sent to me very kindly by the author, and that is The Death Made Prince by Lizette Marshall. I've had Lizette Marshall's other series, the series with Accords of Blood and Bindings, on my list for the longest time, but actually I might be picking this one up first. If you've read both this and the other series from Lizette Marshall, do let me know in the comments if you have a specific recommended reading order. This one also has chapter artwork. This one is slightly dark, I think, fantasy romance with spice, and this is a rune witch and a necromancer. This female main character seems filled with anger and vengeance and trauma, which, look, I love. The two main characters are actually thrown into a cell together on the eve of their execution, and her new ally is this fire mage, necromancer, like ruined prince, and he also happens to be the son of the man who killed her mother. I am sensing a sizzling, tense, enemies to lovers romance with, I also just get the vibe that there's a bit of banter between these two. And it looks like this world has a grittiness to it, a darkness, which I've spoke about before. I really, really appreciate in a fantasy romance when that romance is balanced by this like dark and unforgiving fantasy world and all the scenarios that throws our characters into. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This one is book one, but I do think the rest of the series will be coming really soon, so definitely want to keep an eye on. Next up is a series I really should have read already, and actually this is technically two series, but they're all connected. This is Riftborn, Duskbound and The Ascended by Greenwich and Lennox. This series has been on my radar since the release of book 2 in the main series. However, I am seeing so much hype, particularly about their new book, The Ascended, which is set in the same world but is a separate series or potentially a standalone. I'm not actually too sure. I actually got these in the hardbacks, so I picked up Riftborn. This is book 1 in the series, and this is also a fantasy romance series with some spice. This is one that has definitely been slowly creeping onto my For You page over the past couple of months and then has absolutely exploded since The Ascended came out. I am seeing nothing but rave reviews for that one. I also picked up Duskbound, which is a book 2 in the series. I don't think this series is completed just yet. The Ascended has come out, which is in a different series but same world, and actually people recommend that you read this first just to get like the full context for The Ascended, even though they are designed that you could pick up either. And this one's specifically being recommended for like Carissa Broadbent fans, who's one of my favorite authors, and Sarah J Maas fans, who's one of my favorite authors, so I really probably should have picked these ones up sooner. I've just double checked, this is going to be a trilogy, so there is a third book on the way for Riftborn. Riftborn follows a female main character who's kind of been living as an outcast for a while. This has that delicious trope of like hidden abilities, hidden magic, hidden power, and Fia would be hunted if they knew she had it. Again, look, I have a type. The man in this one, the romance lead in this one, is a general. I'm guessing of like an army or some kind of military combat unit. Here we go, the general who is building a unit of powerful wielders in the guard to face a growing threat. So he's captain of the guard, basically. General of the guard. I don't know what it is with me and guardsmen. Like, my god, they just, look, they do it for me. And I really like the sound of this in terms of like its magic system and its threat. There's a mention of wraiths in this one, and something I really loved this year was Helen Scheuer's Blood and Steel series, and that kind of has the similar kind of like shadowy magic, like shadowy threat, wraiths element to it. And because I love that one so much, I think because this is just reminding me of it a little bit, I think I'm gonna love this too. So as I said, I have book 1 and book 2. I really love the colour changes in this. I'm hoping book 3 is going to be like a dark black to show the, like, see the shadow magic coming in. But this looks like it has those warrior fighter types of main characters, which I absolutely adore in my fantasy, so I'm very excited to read this one. This one's actually in my TBR jar already because you guys recommend it so highly. And then also in this world, as I mentioned, is The Ascended. This is a chunky book. This one is going to be a duology, so this is book 1, book 2 will be coming out shortly. The blurb of this one is definitely leaving a lot open to the imagination, and I'm not going to dive into this one too much until I've read the other two, just because, I mean, that's how I'm seeing it recommended, so that's how I'm going to read it. However, there is the mention of an arena in the blurb of this one, and you know I love anything with deadly trials and competitions. I'm trying not to read too much about this one just because I do want to dive in not knowing much. Although this one also has gorgeous character art on the end pages. I'm just going to double check if there's any of the other characters on the others. Oh, I've just noticed she's naked. I don't know if I need to blur that. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is our main character, but there's quite a few different pieces of character art on the different chapters. So here are 2 characters. Why is she naked all the time? I think this is a really nice addition to the book. I love it when there's character art in there, so I'm looking forward to reading this, and I'm glad I grabbed it in the physical copy. Okay, the final fantasy series before I move on to some indie romance that I've picked up. These next ones I got for one reason, and for one reason only, and that is because I saw them on a recommendation list for anybody who likes Cassian from ACOTAR. They were like, if you're a Cassian girly, these books are for you. And I was like, I am, Your Honor, guilty as charged. I am a Cassian girly. But also I have been seeing the series doing the rounds for a while. I think this got really, really popular last year and it just never ended up on my shelf, but now it has. This is White Horse Black Knight, or the God-Kissed Bride series by Evie Marceau. So I picked up all 3 books. Obviously book 1 is White Horse Black Knight. Book 2 is Silverwings Golden Games. I think the covers of these are so beautiful. I love the moth here. And book 3 is Steel Heart Iron Claws. I don't think this series is complete. I think there is at least a book 4 to come, but I haven't done too much research on this one. I literally got sold on, if you're a Cassian girly, this series is for you. So if anyone knows anything about this one, if you'd recommend it, if you know how many books it's going to be, tell me in the comments below. This one is another romantasy. You guessed it. Look, I am nothing if not predictable. I love romantasy. It is my favourite genre, and it is a genre that I've definitely bought the most in. This one also features the Fae quite heavily, and again, oh my god, the male love interest is a guard. He's a guard working for the Lord. What is it with me and the guards? Have I unlocked something? Is this a form of therapy for me maybe? I don't know. Oh, I remember why I picked this one up now. The guard is also like a huntsman. He's called Baston Wolf Bourbon. And his attitude is very like, I have more important things to do than like escort this damsel in distress. What the hell could she possibly want? This has that kind of like political fantasy element. There are corrupt fae courts, and it looks like it might be a smidge dark and gritty. Again, there is a running theme in this video, and definitely some kind of forbidden romance element, star-crossed lover element in this one as well. So super excited to get round to this one, and I just think the covers on these are so beautiful as well. Like the design, look gorgeous. Okay, that is all the fantasy ones. I do have a couple of romance books, so let's take a look at those too. The first one is from an author who I've been wanting to read for quite some time, and actually this author very kindly reached out and offered to send me a copy of their newest book, and that is Half Light Harper by Samantha Young. I have a copy of Beyond the Thistles on my shelf waiting for me to read already. Samantha Young writes small town cozy romance with some romantic suspense and thrill elements in there as well, and I believe all of them are set within Scotland. I have read and enjoyed a lot lot of romantic suspense. It is definitely my favourite subgenre of romance books, but I think most of the ones I've read have been set kind of within the US. I haven't actually read any in Scotland or the UK. And as I said, I've had Samantha Young on my list for a while of indie authors I'm really excited to read, specifically the Beyond the Thistles book, but this one is a brand new series from the author and definitely one I could pick up without having read the rest, I think. Again, look, this is a contemporary romance, so this man is not a guard, but he is, however, grumpy. I think I have a type. There's something about romantic suspense that really does it for me within romance. I will just read a cozy small town romance and enjoy it, but if there is an element of romantic suspense and thrill, which I think this is going to have just from the sounds of the blurb and from everything else the author has written, I'm just so much more desperate to read it. There is just something in it for me that keeps that page turning and means that I can't put the book down. And again, it's that element of thrill, that element of danger that I really think like throws the main characters together sometimes. So I'm very, very excited to dive into this one. The next one is a gift from a friend. This author has recently had some of their books picked up for traditional publishing, but I don't think this one specifically. But my friend Laura loves Chelsea Curto. Chelsea Curto is very well known for her DC Stars series. I think that's the one that's been picked up for traditional publishing. But then I saw this one, and this is the one that's piqued my interest. DC Stars is sports romance. I don't read too much sports romance. I go through phases of reading loads of it and then not a lot at all. This year has definitely been not a lot at all. I think the only sports romance I've read this year is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. This one is a darker romance, and it does have a spooky kind of setting around a haunted house. I think he's an actor in the haunted house, and she is somebody who like hates being scared. When they have a chance encounter, I don't think they anticipate spending as much time together as they're going to. And I think also he's a serial killer, but like a good one. The way he's holding her in this book cover, can we all just take a moment? And I think there is an element of stalker romance to this. Look, I'm looking forward to reading this. I haven't read any Chelsea Curto, and whilst I probably would love some of Chelsea's other books, particularly DC Star series I know everybody is loving as well, I think this one is so much more up my alley. I might try and squeeze this on my November list of books to read just because I think I'm going to love it so much. So thank you, Laura, for the copy of In the Dark. I will get around to reading one of your favourite authors, I promise. And I'm glad that I have this one to start with that seems definitely much more up my alley than some of Chelsea's other works. Have you read this yet? I feel like this literally just came out the other week. The other week when I'm filming it, probably about a month by the time you watch this. And then the last set is a series that I bought, and then a week later an announcement came out that it had been picked up, and I was like, but I'm gonna tell you about it anyway. This one is another small town romantic suspense, and it is from Victoria Wilder. This is the Bourbon Boys series. You can definitely probably see like my greasy fingerprint there. I can't get that off. I'm gonna have to, I don't know what I've done to that. The covers and the backs of these books are absolutely gorgeous. So I picked up all three that are available. So Bourbon and Lies is book 1. I believe Bourbon and Secrets is book 2. Yes, book 2. And Bourbon and Proof, which is book 3. The series follows the Fox brothers, and again it is that small town romantic suspense that I absolutely adore. I would say that is something that I've definitely picked up more so in the last year or two. Like, I really love books from Devney Perry. I really love the Catherine Cowell Sparrow Fall series. This one is giving me that, but something about this just feels more rugged and like kind of grimy. And these are based around a town that specializes in whiskey distillery, I think. I don't know too much about these ones because, as I said, I literally picked them up and then a week or so later they got picked up for traditional publishing. So this one is one that's on the list that maybe by the time you watch this, I don't know if the indie versions will still be available. This is what you get though. The industry is moving so quickly at the moment. I think these are going to be delicious little spicy reads that I'm probably going to devour one after the other. There's also something about the guy on the cover of book 1 that's giving me Pedro Pascal, but specifically Pedro Pascal as Joel in The Last of Us. It's not exact. It's just giving off the vibes. What did he say? Daddy is a state of mind. Something like that. That's what this is giving me vibe-wise. But this is another series I'm really looking forward to reading, and maybe it's one you can add to your TBR as well if you're into small town, spicy, romantic suspense books. And that is everything. I can almost guarantee, knowing my luck, by the time I get around to uploading this video, all of these books will have been picked up for traditional publishing. So just in case, sorry. Definitely leave me your indie book recs in the comments below. I remember a year or so ago, I was actually reading more independently published books than I was traditionally published books. And I think the balance has definitely skewed a little bit in the last 12 months for me. So I want to get back to discovering some new indie authors. There was so much excitement for me when I would find an indie author that like none of my friends had read, and I'd be able to recommend it to people. And some of these books, in fact all of these books, they look incredible. I mean, that's why they're here, right? If you like this, then you might like my other videos, so do drop a subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure to like the video too, so YouTube knows that you want to see more like this. That's it from me today, and I will see you in the next one.